Welcome to the kingdom of the chosen, a place where revelations are not theory but confirmation. You are not here today by chance. Something greater has brought you to this message. And what is about to be revealed could completely change the way you see your life, your purpose, and the time you thought you had wasted. Don't hit pause. Don't distract yourself. Because what comes next is not fleeting motivation, it is divine alignment. Are you ready to discover why heaven is repositioning you right now? So take a deep breath and come with us. Chosen by God, the call that only the attentive will hear. They say that certain coincidences are actually coded messages. And maybe you've experienced this before, like when a video appears exactly when you need it most, or a phrase touches your soul so precisely that it seems to have been written just for you. This is not chance, it's alignment. In 2008, an unemployed, broke, and homeless man decided to trust in something invisible. Tyler Perry heard an inner yes, even when the whole world said no. He continued writing his plays, even without an audience. What he heard was not an audible voice, but a spiritual conviction that would not let him give up. Today, he runs one of the largest film studios in the United States. And it all started with a moment like that, where everything on the outside seemed to be falling apart, but something inside was calling him not to stop. Become a part of our spiritual family. Subscribe to the channel today and comment, "I believe" below, as a symbol that you accept your role in this great transition. Let your energy be counted among the chosen ones. The time is now. Have you ever wondered why some people can overcome the impossible while others, under the same circumstances, fall apart? The answer may seem strange, but it is straightforward. Some hear when God speaks and respond. According to research from the American Psychological Association, 2023, people who report hearing spiritual callings have greater emotional resilience and better decision-making under pressure. It's not just faith, it's neurology. When your spirit is alert, your brain is alert. The question you should ask yourself now is, can you tell when God is speaking to you? Or have you been confusing His voice with the noise of the world? What you are about to hear is not a sermon, nor is it a motivational speech. It is a call to action that can change the course of your journey. You didn't get here by mistake. There's an invisible reason behind it. You were drawn here because, on some level, you know there's something bigger going on. And here's the crux. You were set apart. Not to be better than anyone else, but to fulfill a role that only you can play. The choice was made even before your birth. Now time is running out, and there is a window, short, sacred, urgent, where answers need to be given. Are you listening? Chapter 1. You were not broken. You were made. Do you remember that phase in your life when everything seemed to have lost its meaning? When you wondered if it was worth continuing to try? And God's silence seemed louder than any prayer? Maybe no one saw your tears that morning, nor heard your screams muffled by the pillow. But there is one detail that needs to be understood. The pain you experienced was not a punishment. It was construction. Most people believe that success is born of talent or luck. But recent studies by Harvard Business Review 2022 show that 80% of the world's most influential leaders faced at least one intense, silent crisis before their life changes. In other words, silent battles are not signs of weakness. They are signs of preparation. In the Bible, we find a story that illustrates this precisely. Joseph, the son of Jacob, around 1700 BC. And he was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, unjustly accused and imprisoned for years in Egypt. Everything pointed to failure. But there, in the darkness of his cell, God was molding him for the throne. And when the time came, he went from prison to ruling Egypt in a single day. Genesis 41:41. Have you ever considered that perhaps what you called rejection was actually divine protection? What doors have closed not because you were incapable, but because God knew it wasn't the right time? Now everything makes more sense, doesn't it? That relationship that ended, the job that was lost, the friends that drifted away. None of this happened by chance. Like a piece that didn't fit into the puzzle yet, you needed to grow, mature, and become stronger. And this is already happening. The cycle of pain doesn't define you. It only sets the stage for the next chapter. Every dark night teaches you to listen in the silence. Every tear you shed carves courage into your chest. And that's exactly what turns someone ordinary into someone chosen. From now on, you no longer have to carry the shame of the past as a burden. You can use it as proof of what you have survived. Because the truth is this: what you overcame didn't break you. It made you. You're not just entering a phase. You're crossing over into the most significant part of your story. And not because everything has gotten easier, but because you've gotten stronger. God saw your faithfulness even when no one else did. And now, He is saying, you are ready. Your journey is just beginning. It's time to regain your strength and build a new path. Subscribe to the channel and be part of this community that is awakening to the truth. Chapter 2. Obedience, the door that opens. What effort cannot? There are decisions that don't make sense on paper, but make perfect sense in spirit. Obeying the divine voice is one of those choices. It's not about logic. It's about listening sensitively to what the eyes don't see but the soul feels clearly. But after all, what does it really mean to obey God? Obedience in this context is not blind subservience. It is respond with action to the spiritual direction received, even when the results are not immediate. It is following an instruction, trusting that the path will be revealed along the way and not before. Many people confuse faith with passivity, but true faith manifests itself in movement. Obedience is not about standing still. It is about moving based on inner convictions that come from a higher source. Consider Noah. Around 2348 BC, he began building an ark on dry land, without a cloud in the sky. People called him crazy, mocked him, and ignored him, but he kept obeying. Years later, when the flood came, it was his response to God's voice, not his prestige, that saved his family. Today, divine instructions may not come in thunderbolts or robed prophets. They come in the form of convictions, inner feelings, insistent ideas, or directions that seem to go against the grain. And that is precisely why many ignore them. Because obeying seems to cost something. And indeed, it does. But what you receive in return is infinitely greater. According to a study by University of Notre Dame 2021, people who declare that they act according to spiritual purposes report higher levels of life satisfaction, make decisions with more confidence, and demonstrate greater resistance to stress. This shows that obeying a well-founded inner voice not only transforms the path, but also the walker. Think of someone like Harriet Tubman. In the 19th century, despite not knowing how to read or write, she freed hundreds of slaves after receiving what she called visions from God. She had no maps, no political power, no resources. She had direction. And she followed it with conviction. Her obedience saved lives and made history. Have you ever noticed how your conscience responds when you ignore an inner calling? How peace disappears, discomfort grows, and everything seems out of place. This happens because neglected obedience creates confusion. But when you respond, even when you are afraid, clarity returns. The right doors open. The path becomes illuminated. God does not demand perfection, He seeks willingness. The yes that changes everything is not the one shouted out loud, but the one you sustain in silence day after day. To obey is to align yourself with the divine plan even without understanding the complete script. And this response is what activates what no force can generate: favor, direction, and access to what is eternal. Chapter 3. They listened, they obeyed, and they changed the world. It's easy to disbelieve a calling when we're in the midst of chaos. Even more so when everything around us screams that it won't work. But it is precisely in these moments that the stories of those who followed the invisible direction, against all odds, remind us of a profound truth. Whoever listens with the heart and responds with courage writes history. Let's start with someone you might know, Oprah Winfrey. Born in Mississippi in 1954, she faced abuse, rejection, and extreme poverty. At 14, she ran away from home. By 19, she was a reporter. But it wasn't until she decided to align her career with her inner mission, to give a voice to those who didn't have one, that everything changed. She said yes to something bigger than fame, purpose. Today, her name is synonymous with influence and transformation. And it wasn't by chance, it was by obedience. Another striking example is Nelson Mandela. For 27 years, he was imprisoned in a tiny cell, convicted of fighting against the apartheid regime in South Africa. He could have given in to bitterness, but he chose to maintain his integrity. When he was released in 1990, he chose the hardest path, forgiveness. In 1994, he became the country's first black president, uniting a divided nation. He followed a silent call for justice, even when it seemed impossible. More recently, we have the trajectory of Tyler Perry. In 1992, he was living in his car in Atlanta, rejected by investors, mocked by critics. But he didn't give up. He kept writing, acting, and believing. A decade later, his theater productions became a phenomenon in the United States. Today, he heads the largest independent film studio in the world. And it all started with a quiet yes to an idea that no one else saw. These names are not mentioned to impress. They are living reminders that when inner conviction is greater than outer noise, change is inevitable. None of them had any guarantees. What they had was listening, courage, and action. These stories show that practical faith opens doors that logic cannot explain. When someone takes a stand, even without all the resources, favor finds the way. And that same strength is available to you. The question now is, what will be born from your yes? History is still being written. What if the next name to inspire the world is yours? It's time to regain your strength and build a new path. If this video resonates with you, don't stop here. Click subscribe now and discover the next step in your transformation. Chapter 4. When the soul knows. Before the mind understands, have you ever felt something, even without a logical explanation? A sudden restlessness, an unexpected peace, or even an impulse to take an action that you cannot rationally justify? These inner insights don't always come with immediate clarity. But over time, you realize that what seemed like just an intuition was actually a revelation, something your spirit grasped before your mind understood. This is called spiritual confirmation. It is not a mystical concept, nor is it fantasy. It is something ancient, present in the scriptures, and which is still evident today. In Romans 8:16 it is written, "The Spirit of God bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God." In other words, there is an inner channel where the divine and the human meet. This connection does not always come through words. Often, it reveals itself through sensations, an inexplicable presence, a silence full of meaning, or a certainty deep inside that defies all logic. This is what many call a prophetic download. It's as if heaven has placed a seal inside you, and everything around you begins to confirm what has already been imprinted within you. Suddenly, songs, conversations, verses, or even videos like this one seem to speak directly to you. And you think, how is it possible that this is describing exactly what I'm experiencing? This is no coincidence. It is spiritual synchronicity. When God's timing intersects with your disposition, confirmations begin to appear on all sides. According to studies by Psychology of Religion and Spirituality 2021, more than 65% of people who claim to have experienced inner revelations report a positive change of course after these moments. This shows that when Spirit speaks, and we listen, something aligns in the journey. Prophetic confirmation does not come to impress. It comes to guide. It comes to reaffirm that you are not crazy, you are not lost, and you are not alone. It reminds you that God is with you, even in silence. So if in the last few days you have had different dreams, felt like changing something, or noticed repetitions that seem like messages, pay attention. It may not be just a coincidence. It could be an answer. And look for, this confirmation is the signal you were waiting for to act. Chapter 5. You came here for a reason, and now you need to decide. You heard it. You felt it. And if you've made it this far, it's because something inside you has recognized this truth. This isn't just another piece of content on the internet. It's a wake-up call, a turning point. It's not about momentary emotion. It's about a concrete response. Now, you were exposed to real stories of people who trusted in something bigger than themselves. Ordinary people with scars and failures, but who made decisions based on spiritual guidance. None of them had the perfect scenario, but they all had a yes inside them. And that was enough. Now it's your turn. Stop for a second and think. How many times have you felt like you were being pushed into something new, but you backed away out of fear, doubt, or tiredness? How many opportunities have passed you by because you hesitated? Not because you weren't capable, but because you didn't believe it was the right time. But here's the truth. The right time is now. You are not being asked to be perfect. You are being asked to be willing. Your response doesn't have to be loud, it just has to be true. Because heaven is not waiting for more promises, it's waiting for an action. Remember, obedience without action is just intention, and intention without action changes absolutely nothing. What God has entrusted to you will not be given to someone else. But if you sit back and do nothing, you may see that window close. And the regret that comes from not trying hurts more than the failure of the one who tried. You are no longer at the beginning of the journey. Your story has already gone through difficult chapters, dark nights, long silences. But now you have reached a turning point, and this point requires a choice. Don't choose the comfort of later. Choose the impact of now. You don't have to see your entire destiny in order to take the next step. Just know that God is in control of it. And He is. You know it. Deep down you felt it more than once. Don't ignore it. Because the next phase demands a response, and it won't come from outside. It will come from within you. So, this is the moment. Take a deep breath, look inside, and ask, will you go back to the same old place, or will you cross the line that separates calling from fulfillment? The time has come to move from waiting to fulfillment. Not because it's easy, but because it is necessary. You've been tested. You've been prepared. You've been trained in silence. Now, it's time to take a stand. And remember, God does not call the ready. He prepares those who say yes. Share this knowledge with the world. Together we can spread this message and help more people become free. Subscribe to the channel and send this video to anyone who needs to hear this truth.